All right, we're gathered here this evening to get through 25 CISSP practice questions. Super Steve is first as usual.
Yep, I'm ready.
And I've resigned to accept all of your answers over the weekend. So let's get started. Question number one, besides risk management and risk mitigation, what other factor is used to perform effective risk management? Besides risk management and mitigation. All right.
I guess I'm ready.
Yep.
I'll take a guess.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
I'm going for A, I think.
Anyone else?
I'm going for B.
Yeah, I was thinking A or B. I wasn't really sure. But they said besides.
Yeah, so Kiki having gone through our CyberSecStudy boot camp, I think risk is one of my favorite topics, and I've obsessed over it. I think I've broken it down to its core components. And our definition of risk is that it equals the likelihood versus the impact of a threat exposing a vulnerability. So this question is just all over the freaking place. It's not really saying anything besides risk management and mitigation. Why would you list risk management and mitigation? Risk mitigation is a component of risk management. So to list them as if they're, beside each other is wrong. What other factor is used to perform effective risk management? So besides risk management, what else is used to perform effective risk management? What this question should be saying is besides likelihood and impact, what other factors should be effective in performing risk management? And that is threat and vulnerability. Because our definition of a risk is the likelihood versus the impact of a threat overcoming the vulnerability. That has to be it, but that question is awful.
That might be a trick question.
Or it might just be a typical stupid practice question. That's why, and I think you were saying this last week, Steve. These practice questions are unlike anything you saw in the exam, right?
Yep, I took it 3 times, and I tell you this: if you pray on any other, like just pray on one engine or 2 engines, you see the real thing. It's an eye opener.
I think that's where people mess up. They think that if I go through 1,000 practice questions, there's a chance I'm going to see some of those practice questions on the exam, and that's just not going to happen. You're going to see terms, right? But the questions are so different, and no practice test bank of questions can write questions the way they are on the exam, or ISC square will come down on them. Like Daenerys Targaryen with her dragon.
Yeah. The funny when you say that, I learned that mistake my first attempt. I prayed on that Cybex second edition, which just came out as the official IC Square practice test, and there's 1,400 questions, and I dumped all my apples on that in the official 8th edition book, and I bombed it.
Yeah. So I mean, Steve, you're one of the best candidates. I think Kiki is excellent. And Gurmeet, you guys are excellent candidates for this exam. But what the focus I think should be on, first of all, understanding the terms and the concepts, which is what we go through in the boot camp and in our online, our audio content. After that, it's going through those Kahoot competitions so that you can get rapid fire word recognition of key terms. Then we move to this practice question sessions, these practice question sessions where we're learning how to apply our understanding of those terms to practice question scenarios, understanding that when we get on the exam, after having done all of that, we're only 50% prepared. The other 50% is the crazy way they word these freaking questions and your ability to understand the true intent of the question. No one can teach you that. So we can just prepare the best we can. All right. Question number 2, the responsibility of the classification of data within an organization rests with whom? Yeah, I don't like this one either.
Yeah, I only think of 2 words and it's not here.
Doesn't
Maybe.
have the answer that it should
Right.
have.
Data owner, but it's not on there.
Right, right.
The senior management.
Senior management has to be data
What?
classifier.
I wonder what unit manager is. That another word for data owner?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I assume that that's another word for like a sectional manager within an organization or manager over a specific sector of the business or a specific unit of the business, you know, but we'll see. All right, number 3, which of the following is usually not considered when classifying data? We've seen this before. This is a layup. Anyone?
I don't know why I couldn't remember, but we got this twice.
Let me tell you guys, all those episodes that we have posted on YouTube, go there, search for CyberSecStudy. We've got 8 episodes up there now. I skip all the way to the end when I see our our score come up, and I just listen to that part of the session where we get our answers and we see the explanation for each answer. That is very, very valuable. I can't stress that enough. Go back and look at those, the endings of each of those sessions. So this one is alpha. The user base is not important when classifying the information.
Oh yeah, now I remember. The first time we selected the age or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. All right, number 4, central authenticating systems should perform 3 primary services. Which service is not one of them? Central authenticating systems. So I think this is speaking to these remote authentication protocols like radius and diameter. If anyone recalls what we've talked about with those, I think this answer is pretty easy.
I'm ready.
All right, go for it.
I think it's D.
Yep, delta. So those ID, authn, author, and then accountability is the order here. So they don't have identification, but they have authentication, authorization, and then accountability and auditing are the same thing. It deals with after you've authenticated yourself into the system, you then authorize access to different resources within the system, and then your access to those resources should be audited so you can be held accountable for anything you do on the system. Number 5, what mechanism can be used to ensure that a failed transaction or system failure returns the subject to a meaningful point in some process? Which mechanism can be used to ensure that a failed transaction or system failure. Hey, we haven't seen this one before, but I think I can take a pretty good guess here. Anybody else?
I have no idea.
I was gonna guess B.
B or D. That's all I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm thinking checkpoint. A point in some a meaningful point, a checkpoint would definitely fill the bill there, I think. But yeah, this was a new one. We'll see it on the back end. Number 6, which of the following has objectives that include the creation of a framework for establishing jurisdiction and extradition of the accused? Well, this sounds like Edward Snowden. I mean, what's his name? WikiLeaks. I can't think of the name. He was just arrested in the Ecuadorian embassy. Julian Assange. Yeah.
I think I'm ready.
As the objective that includes the creation of a framework. Okay. All right. What do you got?
I think it's yeah. Yeah, I was going for alpha, but it's either A or B, but
Yeah.
it might be B, but I feel like I've seen this somewhere before.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. It's definitely got to be A or B. So let's go ahead and try B and C. B and C, what happens? All right, number 7. Which of the following tunneling protocols is not well suited for dial-up? Is that Gurmeet in the background? I think your volume is really low.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What do you got? Are you ready?
Better now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of alpha.
Yeah.
I was going for alpha too.
Same here. And we'll see our explanation later.
Yeah,
Right.
alpha is because IPSec is data VPN protocol, right?
Yeah, your sound is a bit muffled, and you may be away.
No, it's me. Hold on. Let me reset something. You guys go ahead.
Yeah, that's better. You sound better now. It's almost like you're not speaking directly into your microphone, but yeah, we want to hear what you have to say because you usually drop some really good information on us.
Sometimes. Thank you.
All right, number 8. Which of the following is not a characteristic typically considered important when initially considering security countermeasures? Characteristic that's not important when considering security countermeasures. So we talked about a security control is something you implement to mitigate risk. A safeguard is a control you implement before an exposure. A countermeasure is something you implement, is a control that you implement after an exposure. I'm not sure this question is taking those facts into account. But let's see, a security control that is a countermeasure, would you want it to be modular in nature? Yeah, sure. Include an audit function. Would a security control have an audit function? You definitely want it to be reasonably priced. Defaults to least privileged. I'm not sure what that has to do with a countermeasure.
Yeah, but isn't the reasonably priced kind of the standard?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Isn't the reasonably priced kind of the standard?
Kiki, I think you got some background noise going there. Oh goodness, we got a lot going on. Okay, yeah, thanks, Kiki. All right, Gurmeet, what were you saying?
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Let me make sure my head's here. I was thinking reasonably priced is kind of the different, it's kind of a unique thing in this sport, right? Because all the other three have a little
You're
bit.
real low. It's real low.
Let me change my headset, guys.
Okay.
Let me change
Yeah, I'm thinking either Bravo or Delta. I'm leaning towards Delta. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going for Delta. I was thinking C or D.
I was thinking C, because reasonably priced. I mean, if it's a countermeasure, I don't think we want to implement it, cheap.
But if the countermeasure, if it costs more to implement it than the threat itself, then the loss you would have as a result of that exposure, then you don't want to implement that countermeasure. So I think the price is relevant here. You want to be cost effective in your implementation of countermeasures.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
but by the way, can you hear me fine now? Is it better?
I think I'll go with Delta, and
Yeah.
we'll see. All right, number 9, name servers and resolvers are the two primary components of.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I think this is a layup. Go for it.
It's A.
DNS. Host name resolves host name to IP address. The opposite of that is ARP, which resolves IP address to host name. Number 10, a database row can be called a blank.
I'm ready.
Go for it.
Tuple.
Actually, it can be a record or a tuple.
Record? I must be confused. Is it a record?
Yeah, the columns are attributes. The rows are either records or tuples. But we'll take tuple because it's a fancier word. But this is a question I don't like because those are the same thing.
Can you folks hear me fine now? I just want to check.
Say again, Gurmeet, you're still low.
Yeah, still low. I don't know what is it. Let me keep going. Don't worry about it.
Okay. All right, number 11, the preservation of a secure state in the event of failure is referred to as preservation of a secure state in the event of a failure.
I'm ready.
Yep, this is a layup. Go for it.
It's A.
B.
A.
What would you say,
I was
Kiki?
thinking it's B.
Yeah, I'm thinking
it's B.
Failsafe. Failsafe, fail secure though are the same thing.
Yeah, that's I've seen both words used before,
Yeah.
but I know I haven't seen the last two.
I think it's just like the last one, tuple and record. I'm gonna go fail safe, but it could be fail secure too. Who knows? We didn't get a good bank of questions here, I don't think. And number 12, Jill sends a message to a web server in Unicode, which easily passes through security controls because the content filtering feature does not recognize the data. In reality, the message contains malicious commands. What type of attack is this? Okay, yeah, I think I'm ready.
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go
I'm
for
ready.
it.
I'm going for B.
B.
Bravo. Yep, same here. Malformed input. Number 13, which of the following best describes a digital signature? We talk a lot about this in our boot camp.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right, go for it.
It's D.
Would you say Kiki?
I was saying C.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking C or D, but
So digital signature, in order to generate a digital signature, you write your message, you hash your message, and then you sign it with your private key, your private asymmetric key. So you get integrity from the hashing function, you get non-repudiation and authenticity because you use your private key. You don't get confidentiality. Those 4 objectives of cryptography: confidentiality, integrity, authenticity, and non-repudiation. With a digital signature, you get 3 of the 4 objectives. So let's see, a method to let receiver of the message prove the source and identity and integrity of a message. I'm leaning towards delta.
I always map integrity with digital signatures.
Yeah, because you have to hash first, and that hashing, always think of hashing equals integrity. Hashing provides integrity.
Yeah, and also it's more about proving the source.
Yeah.
Or non-repudiation.
So the fact that you write your message, you hash it with, you hash it, and then you sign that hash with your private key. That signing with your private key is what's proving the source is that the source is authentically who they claim to be, because only they could have done it with their private key. Yeah, if you're cryptography is complicated, man. You have to be a mathematician and you got to see it from a specific perspective, and I think we've broken it down really well in our boot camp. So, all right, number 14, which would not be part of the triage escalation process? This is during a disaster. You want to triage as a step within the disaster recovery process, which would not be a part of that.
I'm ready.
All right, go for it.
I'm going for B.
Yeah, anyone else? Yeah, I think I agree because during triage, you're doing triage because you've confirmed that you have an incident.
Yeah, then you look at all your sources and try to drill down and figure it out.
Yeah, triage, you're trying to identify what caused the problem, what was involved. So you're not still trying to prove or identify that there was an incident. You've already done that. All right, number 15, which of the following refers to the assessment of a system by someone with full knowledge of how it was designed or implemented?
I'm ready.
Yeah, this is a layup. Go for it.
It's A.
White box testing.
I think you might always see Crystal too. Yeah, sometimes a nickname.
Oh yeah, crystal or white.
Yeah.
Number 16, light critical areas to a distance of blank.
Light.
This is in our study material, we use the term candles. So that the candle, if a pole that has a light at the top, if that pole is 6 feet, is it 6 feet or 8 feet? I think you want a candle. Actually, I think it's 8 feet high. You want a candle of 4 feet around the base of that source.
Isn't it 8 feet and 2 feet of candles? How does, I'm not sure, I don't remember from the 2 feet candles to the measurement of candles to distance. I know the 8 feet, but I'm not too sure between the 2 and the 4 feet out.
I'll tell you, hold on just a second. I might have it listed in one of our muscle memory charts. Give me just a second. Ooh, let me see. Let me try one. I'm not sure if it's there or not, but oops, that's not it. Hold on a sec. Yeah, I don't think I have it, and I don't recall exact. I think I recall 8 feet high and 4 feet in radius from the center to the outward part. You want light to be shining on 4 feet radius from the center of the pole. But yeah, we'll just take a guess here and confirm it on the back end. All right, 17. Locks are one form of boundary protection used in physical security, which is not true regarding locks. We've seen this one before.
Ready.
Go for it.
B.
Bravo. Hard to defeat mechanism. They are locks. Physical locks are not a hard to defeat mechanism. They are easy to defeat. I think Harmeet said it last time that locks are only there to keep honest people out. Number 18, Riley is leading a project kickoff meeting with representatives from the entire company. He asks the following questions. Number 1, what could happen? Number 2, how devastating could it possibly be? Number 3, how often could it occur? And number 4, how accurate are our answers to the 3 previous questions? What area or issue are the answers to these questions targeted at?
Ready.
I'm ready.
Yep, go for it.
You see?
C.
I heard Charlie. What else?
C. Yeah.
I'm going for C.
Okay. Yep. Risk. Our definition of risk, again, likelihood versus the impact of a threat exposing a vulnerability. What could happen would be the impact, or that likelihood maybe. What could happen could be the likelihood. How devastating could it possibly be? Could be the impact. How often could it occur? Could be likelihood. How accurate? See, they're all over the place. Every source you'll ever find that talks about risk is different. All of them are different. But I think we've broken it down to its core. When you look at risk as equaling the likelihood versus the impact of a threat overcoming a vulnerability, then you'll understand that you don't have a risk unless you have both a threat and a vulnerability. If you just have a threat and no vulnerability, but you don't have a risk. If you just have a vulnerability and no threat, then you don't have a risk. You don't need to do a risk assessment. But if you have both a threat and a vulnerability, then you need to do a risk assessment. And once you do a risk assessment, you have to look at both likelihood of that threat overcoming the vulnerability and the impact if that threat overcame the vulnerability. I just haven't seen anywhere where they break it down like that to its core principle. And I think a lot of these, I've seen a lot of practice questions that just get risk all wrong. And I cringe to think that the exam might do the same. But all right, number 19, Which of the following best describes the difference between content and context access control? This is a new one for us.
Ready?
Wow, I'm not sure. All right, what do you have?
I'm torn between A and D.
Alpha and delta?
Yep.
C, Charlie.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with C as well.
Now, alpha and bravo are just opposites of each other in terms of the definition of context versus content. So I'm leaning towards it being one of those two.
But then doesn't content here, again, content is based on sensitivity, and so does the MAC model because it's used for DoD. So the it's based on labeling and the level of authority that you have that the MAC model works with, and discretionary access control based on the owner. So I don't know. I'm torn. I'm gonna go with A.
Yeah, I like that explanation. I think I think you just pushed me towards alpha or delta with that explanation, but I'm gonna try alpha just because of those two opposing views with alpha and bravo. But yeah, we'll learn something on this one. All right, number 20, which of the following is the best approach to software patch management and why?
Ready.
Wow, you're a fast reader.
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, go for it.
Delta.
Delta. I'm doing this at work right now. Windows had that big update for those XPs and those old stuff.
Was that on Tuesday?
Yeah, they haven't patched anything XP in like 4 years, I think, since the WannaCry, and now they push some critical updates because some people still have them.
Wow.
Yeah, we are one of them.
Same here.
Awesome. All right, 21. Which of the following terms describes a system where a user's access to resources is based on the user's position and job title?
I'm ready.
Yeah, this is a layup. Go
Ready.
for it.
Let's see.
Charlie, role-based access control. 22. Which of the following ciphers uses a polyalphabetic substitution process?
Ready.
So let's see. Cipher is another word for cryptographic algorithm. An algorithm lists the steps, step by step, for how the encryption and decryption process takes place. So we have a cipher. A polyalphabetic cipher can use multiple alphabets, multiple rows of alphabets maybe. And then substitution, every crypto process is either done with substitution or transposition. With substitution, you're replacing letters with other letters. With transposition, you're just shuffling the letters that are there around. All right, so with that, what's your choice?
I was leaning more towards Caesar cipher, but I think I'm leaning towards Caesar.
I was thinking A too, but then I was looking at C.
C, yes.
Yeah. Because I've never seen B or D before, but I've seen C somewhere.
I think I'm leaning toward Visionaire, and I forget what that is short. There's another name. Visionaire is another name for something else, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. Caesar cipher is like the most simplistic cipher there is. I don't think it's polyalphabetic. I think it's monoalphabetic.
So I did a quick lookup, and it says the Visionaire cipher is a method of encrypting alphabetic text by using a series of interwoven Caesar cipher.
Okay, yeah, so that will be polyalphabetic.
Yes.
Okay, all right, let's go with that one. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think we're pretty good with that one. Yeah, thanks for efforting that question.
I think I did a bit of cheating.
Yeah, hey man, we're trying to learn here, so whatever it takes. Number 23, which of the following refers to the assessment of a system by someone with no advanced knowledge of how it was designed or implemented?
Ready.
Layup, go for it.
Yeah.
Say again.
Black box.
Yeah, Charlie, black box.
Should be Charlie, right?
No knowledge. If they had some knowledge, it would be gray.
Right.
If they had a lot of knowledge, then it'd be white. 24, security awareness training programs have all of the following characteristics except.
Ready.
Go for it.
D.
Entertaining and positive. I mean, I wish they could be. But,
lately they're making all these know before things like games and stuff. So I was thinking B, Bravo.
simple,
but I don't know. I mean, C, D also looks good.
Yeah. I think they definitely wanted to be enforced by department heads. I think you definitely wanted to be simple, clear, and concise. Definitely has to be ongoing. Being entertaining and positive is relative in my perspective. Although I think most of us have seen that they're trying to make them entertaining, but yeah, we'll see. All right, number 25, which centralized access control authentication protocol is also an adopted internet standard? Adopted internet standard.
Radius?
Yeah, I'm going more for that too.
So Radius.
I'm thinking Bravo.
Radius and TACACS are centralized remote authentication protocols. Radius was replaced by Diameter. TACACS has others like TACACS Plus and.
It's a Cisco proprietary.
Yeah. I think I would select. Oh well, shit, man.
Here I'd use that's the RSA thing. I use that the token.
So Radius or TACACS? What do you think?
I think it's Radius because Cisco is proprietary. So.
I'm putting money on B because all my life I worked on Cisco.
I'm sorry, can you be a little louder? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I have an issue. I don't know what it is, but yes, I'm thinking it's Bravo. Yeah.
Kiki, did you say something on this one? All right.
Yeah, I think I was thinking, for some reason I was thinking C, but the more I read the question, I think I'll go with B.
I've gone back and listened to all 8 episodes that I've posted on YouTube of our practice question sessions, and Steve has been right more often than wrong. And I think for that.
Yes, I know it's A or B, but I don't know. This is a 50-50.
Don't fail me, Steve. I'm going to blame you for
that. Quick question: isn't Radius used internal on your local LAN?
I know I've used it on my on the Wi-Fi, and it's like I just did this like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay. So when you're looking at internet standard, are you looking at it from a WAN or from a LAN perspective? That's my question.
I don't really know how this whole thing works, but I know when I was configuring it and I had to select option radius.
Okay.
And I know TACAS is Cisco proprietary and TACAS Plus is all Cisco.
Yeah, my money's in TACX because all my life I worked on TACX. On Cisco and Juniper, obviously.
All right, we'll blame Steve on this one. Let's see how we did. I think we may not have gotten that one. Let's see here. All right, number one. What the heck? Yeah, this.
Yeah. It was either A or C. That's all I was thinking because probability factor that goes in the what you call it, the qualitative risk assessment.
Uncertainty analysis is not something I've ever heard of. But let's see. Their explanation says uncertainty analysis leads or lends a dose of reality to risk assessment, which is built mainly on speculation. So that would imply a qualitative assessment versus a quantitative assessment. So uncertainty analysis adds some quantitative elements. I think this is what this is saying. The risk assessment should be tempered by applying a method that estimates management's confidence level in the risk analysis finding and the likelihood of the results remaining valid. Tracking the uncertainty factor can generate historical data that can be used to refine risk assessment techniques going forward. Data valuation, threat and vulnerability assessment, and their associated probability factors relate to the risk analysis part of the risk management activity. Jesus.
Yeah, because threat and your vulnerability assessment lead to risk management, right?
Well, they're components of risk management, right?
Yeah, but then they're asking besides.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right there. You're right about that. I never heard of uncertainty analysis before, which is why we're doing practice questions, so we can expose to things we haven't been exposed to before. Had anyone else, Steve, have you heard of uncertainty analysis?
No, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
But I knew it couldn't be B or D. I selected A and I got it wrong.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll learn something. Number two, the senior management of an organization is ultimately responsible for the classification and proper handling of data assets. We would prefer that said data owner. The data custodian would implement security to protect the data in accordance with how the data owner or senior management classified it. Number three, who might use the data is dependent upon its usefulness, but doesn't factor into how it's classified. All right, that was a layup. We've seen that before. Number four, the basic services performed by a central authenticating system are authentication, authorization, and accountability. They leave out identification. The AAA is authentication, authorization, and accountability, that AAA protocol, but I think they should include identification in there. And number five, checkpoints create a fallback strategy for an application by enabling the user to return to a point prior to the failure of some process. Yeah, we're lucky in guessing that one. We got lucky on this one too. Number six, the Council of Europe, COE, Convention on Cybercrime is one example of an attempt to create a standard international response to cybercrime. Council of Europe Convention on Cybercrime. Number 7, IPSec is a tunneling protocol used in LAN-to-LAN VPN solutions where it can handle multiple connections at the same time. PPTP, PPP, and L2TP are particular protocols used primarily in dial-up environments. Oh, get out of here.
Yeah, that was my first choice. And I was like, that just seems off.
That, but that defies a major concept for me where in implementing security controls, whether they be safeguards or countermeasures, you want to implement them in a cost-effective manner. The cost of that countermeasure should not be more than the asset that you're trying to protect.
You see the way I was thinking about this question, the way I was reading it, the keyword for me was initially, and then like from my perspective, when you're trying to like select vendors, we don't even care about the price. We're just looking at, and then that was where I got my reason from.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. The wording is reasonably priced. It's not talking about cost effectiveness. They're saying that.
Yeah, you're too low, Gurmeet. We can't hear you tonight, man.
Yeah, tonight is a
But
tough
yeah, I can't see a situation where you would ever not consider price. The whole point of implementing security controls is to do a risk assessment so that you can be cost effective in your implementation of security controls. You never just forego cost and price and just willy-nilly. I mean, that's what everyone's doing. They're not doing a risk assessment. They're just identifying vulnerabilities, and the smartest guy in the room says that this is the solution, and they implement it without consideration of cost and without prioritizing things as a result of a risk assessment. But this says, while a practical concern, the cost of the countermeasure should not be considered until the characteristics of the countermeasure needed have been prioritized. Oh, God.
Yeah, you don't, I mean, I was thinking you don't go in saying, I'm only going to spend this amount of money.
Well, I mean, you're going to have a budget, right? You're going to have a security budget to start with. And then you're going to do your assessment and prioritize the risk, and you're going to allocate resources to the high risk, the moderate risk, and the low risk in accordance with your budget that you started out with. I don't know. This disagrees with my mental picture, so I can't accept it. I will accept getting a question wrong on the exam for that one. Number 9, DNS is a global network of named servers that translates host names to numerical IP addresses. We've talked about that. We guessed right on this one, even though a row and a tuple and a record are the same thing. Number 10, rows in a database are referred to as tuples, columns are attributes, and a collection of related data items is called a record. Oh.
Wow, this is totally opposite to what I learned.
Yeah, same here. I don't like that explanation at all. Your row is the information that goes from left to right in a table. And then I refer to those as records or tuples. And then the columns are top to bottom, and those are the attributes. But again, when you're doing practice questions, that's why I say you got to spend a lot of time studying. You got to know your terms and your concepts and have a strong mental picture. I think some of these practice questions are floated out here to mess us up, quite frankly. So I critique them, and I trust my mental picture. I go into the exam trusting my mental picture, and I'm willing to take what happens. See, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I've seen fail secure in a lot of my books. That's the only reason why I went.
ridiculous. A system that enforces a fail secure state ensures that the system rolls back to a secure state if a security breach were to occur. The same, you could say the same thing about Failsafe. Okay, hate practice questions. For a long time, I wouldn't even have my boot camps or my students do practice questions. I would just focus on them understanding the concepts. I've just recently resigned to forcing myself to show my students how to apply their understanding of the terms and concepts to practice questions, with the understanding that practice questions suck, majority of them. Number 12, injecting data in a way that the device cannot recognize it as malicious is one way of executing an attack. So malformed input. Number 13, a method to let the receiver of the message. Yeah, this one dealt with the digital signature. Digital signature provides authentication, knowing who really sent the message, integrity, because a hashing algorithm is involved, and non-repudiation, because the sender cannot deny sending the message. To generate a digital signature, you have to hash your message and then sign it with your or apply your private key, encrypt it with your private key. But both of those function, hashing and encrypting with private key, have to be used for digital signature. I don't like this one either, which would not be part of triage escalation. It's saying that track the movement of the intrusion. Really? Tracking the movement of a virus, for example, would be part of the action-reaction phase. In order to contain the problem, it must be tracked. Oftentimes, viruses will spread in many directions, so security personnel must ensure it is completely contained before reopening a network. Yeah, I don't like that one. Number 15 is the layup, white box testing, full knowledge of it, how it's designed and implemented. Yeah, you were right about, I think that was that Gurmeet or Ramana, I think. Candles 8 feet high. If a post is 8 feet high, you got to have 2 feet candles. Use lighting to discourage intruders and provide safety for personnel, entrances, parking areas, and critical sections. Critical areas should be illuminated 8 feet high and 2 feet out, or 2 feet in radius from the center of the pole. So if it's 16, if the pole's 16 feet high, then you want 4 feet.
No, actually, you're right. If you think about a pole, it's going to throw light in both directions. So it's 2 on each side. So you're right. It could be 4 feet, but I only went with it because I remember 8 and the number 2.
Yeah, it's
8 feet and 2.
It's 4 if you're thinking of the diameter,
Yes.
one end to the other. But if you're considering the radius from the center to the outside, that's what candles. Candles is the radius from the center to the outside.
Oh, okay.
This question doesn't mention candles, but ISC squared, our study material, does. All right, 17. Locks are considered easy to defeat. That was a layup. Number 18. Risk by answering the 4 questions Riley posed in his meeting. The team is taking the right steps at identifying what their company faces. This exercise is generally considered the beginning stages of a risk analysis. And we got this one right. Context dependent is different from content, because context dependent access controls make access decisions based on a collection of information instead of the sensitivity of data. So content deals with a collection of information, the amount of content. Context deals with the collection of information. Content deals with sensitivity of the data. So a system that is using context-dependent access is reviewing the situation and then making a decision. Commonly, context-dependent access control decisions are based on the previous access request of the requester. That's all good information that, frankly, is new to me. But that's why we do practice questions. All right, number 20, centralized patch management is considered best practice because without it, the enterprise cannot know which systems need and receive which patches, and cannot confirm that patches have been deployed successfully and safely. So centralized patch management. And then 21, this was a layup: role-based access control. Access to resources within role-based access systems are determined by the role to which users are assigned, generally based on the needs of anyone performing the duties and having the responsibilities within that group of users or within that role. We got that one. Thanks for your research on this one. Vigenère is a polyalphabetic substitution cipher created by Blaise de Vigenère in the 16th century. Polyalphabetic substitution uses multiple alphabets, which makes the algorithm more immune to frequency analysis attacks. Caesar cipher is a monoalphabetic and would be prone to frequency analysis attacks. This was a layup: black box testing. You don't have knowledge prior to testing. Number 24, security awareness training programs have all the following characteristics except enforced by department heads. Wow, okay. Security awareness should ideally be championed by senior management, not department heads, which emphasizes the importance of the program to all employees. While department heads will certainly be involved in the program, the executive team should have their names on it. That's awesome. So we do want awareness training to be entertaining and positive. Awesome. All right. Super Steve, you never fail us, man.
Yeah. Good guesser.
Say again?
I said I'm a good guesser when it comes to the 50s.
Oh, man. You got some good knowledge in that brain. Centralized access control administration is very commonly done using the remote authentication dial-in user service, or RADIUS protocol. It is a network protocol and provides client-server authentication, authorization, and audit remote users, the AAA. RADIUS was developed by Livingston Enterprises for its network access server product series, but was then published as standards. This means it is an open protocol that any vendor can use and manipulate so it will work within its individual products. Because RADIUS is an open protocol, it can be used in different types of implementations with format and configuration, and user credentials can be held in LDAP servers, various databases, or text files. All right, that is it, guys, for tonight. Anybody got any questions or comments?
We're still meeting on Saturday?
Yep, Saturday at noon.
All right.
All right, guys.
I see that.
Yep. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, guys.